I want to call to order the January 5th, 2012 meeting of the Ascension Parish Council. Would everyone please rise for the invocation by Carrie Williams and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance by Miss Martha Collins.
Let us pray. Most Heavenly Father God, we come tonight to give you glory, to give you honor, to give you praise, Father. Dear God, we thank you again for allowing us to come for one more time for this parish council meeting, Father. Dear God, thank you for the parish council. Father, thank you for the parish president, Father. Thank you for the people that has voted them in, Father. God, we give you glory, we give you honor, we give you praise. In Jesus' name we pray. And all the saints of God will say, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Carrie.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Madam Secretary. Please note that all council persons are present, and we'd like to welcome the four new guys. And girl. Chair additions, no chair additions. Public comment period. Anyone wishing to speak on an agenda item, please come up and sign in with the secretary, and you'll be given time when that comes up. Presentations, we have none tonight. We'll move right into agenda item number 6, election of the council chairperson and vice chairperson. The sitting chair would welcome nominations for chair.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a nominate Councilman Chris Lohr for chairman.
I second that.
Second.
Who was that second from? We have a nomination from Mr. Benny Johnson, a second from Mr. Kent Shake Snyder for Mr. Chris Lohr. Any discussion?
Move.
Any opposition?
Wait, you have to allow for other nominations. I move the nomination to be closed.
Second.
We have a motion to close nominations and a second. Nominations are closed.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Benny Johnson for vice chair.
Oh,
We need a vote on the
we need
first.
to vote on the first one.
Any opposition? Unanimous, Mr. Lohr. You are the new chair, and I will resign the chair.
Thank you. I'd like to say first that I fully recognize that any of you could sit in this chair and do the job well. So I'm extremely honored and humbled that you express your confidence in me, and I promise you I will give this role everything I have. You know, all of us were elected for different reasons. Some are likely similar, but if there's one truth in politics, it's that nothing gets done alone. And the system requires that if you want to accomplish something, you have to work together. I'm proud to have been a part of the last 4 years on this council, and I think all the returning councilmen would feel the same. We heeded that call towards a spirit of cooperation, and that's something I hope will endure. This has been and will continue to be a team-centered approach. We most certainly disagree on issues that come before us, but we iron out our differences, we compromise where needed, and we keep the big picture at hand above any of our own personal agendas. That's how you get results in a democracy, and to me is the definition of good government. Because that's to me what the people elect us to do, to deliver results. And we all know Ascension Parish is at a major crossroads in its history. We have massive looming infrastructure issues, and we can kind of muddle along and chip away at those, or we can get serious about getting something done. And I'm not suggesting those are simple issues with any easy answers, but we're going to be judged over the next 4 years, not on how well we discuss the complexities of our problems, but on our ability to deliver workable solutions for the people. So if we're aggressive in meeting these and all the other challenges that come before us head on, and are courageous enough to make tough decisions, we will be able to look back on this term as a true success. Everyone has different motivations and reasons for wanting to serve in this council, and I wanted to share mine. One day in the future, when my daughters are driving down a new, safe, uncongested highway, or bringing their kids to play at a nice park, or going to a great event at Lamar Dixon, I want them to know that those are the reasons that I was gone when they were younger, so many nights, because I was a part of a team of people that worked together to lay the foundations for Ascension Parish to help continue this community being the best in the entire state of Louisiana. I know that we have the people up here to make that happen. I truly believe we can be the best parish council in the history of Ascension Parish. So again, thank you for this honor, and I thank you for your desire to serve the public as well, and here's to a great 4 years. Thank you. I'll now open up the floor for nominations for Vice Chair.
Yeah, Mr. Chair. I'd like to move for Mr. Benny Johnson for Vice Chair.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion by Councilman Dempsey Lambert to nominate Councilman Benny Johnson, and a second from Councilman Oliver Joseph. Are there any other nominations?
Move to close the,
Second.
I have a motion for Councilman Joseph to close the nominations and a second from Councilman Sheikh Snyder. We'll now vote on Councilman Johnson as Vice Chair. Are there any objections? Hearing none, the Chair will assume unanimous consent. Congratulations, Councilman Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd also like to thank my fellow councilmen and councilwomen for their confidence in handling this job, and promise as well to do the best to this job is to my ability, and work with everyone across the spectrum of what we do to make sure that we progress forward as a team in a positive force. So thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right, I wanted to let everybody know as well that we will be passing on items 8B, which is on the consent agenda. So when we move on that, we will need to remove that from the consent agenda. Also, item 12, which is the item concerning the sponsorship agreement with Don Seafood Hut for Lamar Dixon, due to those negotiations falling through and that offer being rescinded. We will also be passing on item 16.1 regarding the planning and zoning terms. There had been some differing legal opinions regarding that, and that was settled today. Our legal counsel spoke with the district attorney, Ricky Babin, and he verified that the previously adopted ordinance on the 19th was valid and legal. So, and those are all the items that we need to change on the agenda. So we will move into Parish President's report. Parish President Martinez.
The only thing I have tonight is I certainly want to welcome the 4 new councilmen, and just say that I look forward to working with you the next 4 years, and hopefully we can do the best job we can for the citizens of Ascension Parish, and continue working together, as Chris said, in a spirit of cooperation. So that's all I have tonight.
Okay. Thank you, sir. All right, the chair will entertain a motion to move the consent agenda minus item 8B.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert,
Second.
second by Councilman Oliver Joseph. Any discussion? Any objection? Going forward, just FYI for the new folks, if I hear no objection, I'm going to state no objection, and if I hear none, the chair will always assume unanimous consent. So if there's any objection, none. Motion to move the consent agenda passes, and will be number 9, the Personnel Committee recommendations. Councilman Lambert.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We had a committee meeting this past week, and Ms. Sherry Kitchen, I'm going to let her come up on the first one on A. It's approval of a classification list. It's a little change in the classifications of some of our employees, and I'll let her fill us in on that. It's no pay increase, it's just a classification change, just to be,
Right, we clarified the titles between DPW and drainage, and we only added 2 new positions. Everything else is the same, just change titles, no pay grades.
so.
You should have the job descriptions in your packet.
Okay.
So we do need a motion.
Okay,
to,
so-
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Benny Johnson and a second by Councilman Randy Kluwat to approve the classification list as submitted. Any discussion? Any objection? So passed. Item 9B, recommendation of zoning board of adjustments member.
Yes, we interviewed several applicants, and coming out of committee, they picked Mr. Mikey Bro as that appointment.
Okay. Motion by Councilman Randy Kluwat, second by Councilman Kent Schick-Snyder to approve Mikey Bro. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion passes. 9C, recommendation of industrial development board member.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, we had one applicant, Mr. Donnelly Travis Williams, and the board did agree to put him on board.
Motion by Councilman Randy Kluwat and a second by Councilman Brian Melanson to approve the personnel committee recommendation. Any discussion? Any objection? That motion passes.
That's all of my report, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you, Councilman Lambert. Item 10 is the proposed incentive for Project Boxwood, a potential location of a new chemical manufacturing facility. Mr. Mike Eads of the Ascension Economic Development Corporation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm delighted to come to you during the first meeting of the year with a wonderful opportunity we have to attract this investment to the parish. I think you have the project summary. I'll go over it very briefly. This company is a well-known international player in the market, is a market leader in their business, so well-established, not dealing with a underfunded fly-by-night organization here. Very impressive people that we've met with. There is competition, as there always is. In this case, a community in southeast Texas, which is not unusual for us. There's 125 jobs, direct jobs with the company, not to include any contractor positions that would be on the site doing the maintenance, et cetera, and also approximately 1,000 temporary construction jobs involved. The capital investment profile you see there is a grand total of about an estimated $400 million. See the value of inventories is estimated at average value at $10 million, a little bit over $10 million a month. Your direct local revenues in the first 10 years, I will ask you to bear with me on that a little bit. That last number of the sales and use taxes is in error. We are trying to pin that number down. It could be half of that amount that's shown. It could be a little bit less than half, but it's going to be a substantial number. But that number is not correct, and I apologize for that, but we just had an incorrect piece of data that we put into the impact model. The state is at the table, as they always are with us here, with substantial incentives. As I point out in summary, that summary of state incentives is not all the incentives that will be offered. These are just the statutory ones. The governor has the authority to offer other training, such as training and other things, and we fully expect that he will do that to a substantial amount. So the recommendation from the Ascension Economic Development Corporation Board is that the parish offer a rebate of the 1 cent sales and use tax on the construction materials and initial equipping of this facility as an incentive. In addition to that, we, just for your information, have approached the sheriff and requested that he participate. Also, I don't have an answer at this stage from the sheriff, but he is at the table.
Okay, sorry, Councilman Clutt, did you have something? No. Mr. Eads, so just because you brought it up, the ROI, you're saying it would go down from 24 million to about 12 million?
I'll say that again, I'm
the
sorry.
Return on investment is what's at the differences would be that you discovered? Is that what you were saying?
No, the number, I'm sorry, under the direct local tax revenues, well, that number would change too, but direct local tax revenues in the first 10 years, the sales and use tax number that I've got there at 128 million,
okay,
I know is incorrect, and again, I apologize for that, but we just got a bad piece of data.
Okay.
And I'll have to confirm, back to you exactly what that number is going to be. It's going to be a substantial number. I can't give you a firm number, but it does obviously change that bottom return on investment number. Although it's still going to be positive. And the council needs to keep in mind that To me, this is the perfect kind of incentive that you want to do, because if a company, if they don't spend $400 million, they only spend $200 million, then you're not spending, you're not going to have as much sales tax to rebate. And so the incentive is self-leveling, and it's also after the fact. So you will be earning the sales tax revenue for whatever project period that you negotiate with the company, and you'll have that in your coffers. And then however you decide that the company will apply for that rebate, and the process and the timing thereof is up to you. And so, you know, you're not giving away something that you already have, in a sense. And,
Okay. Councilman Joseph?
Yes, this model, this format is basic like the state, right? So the state used this same kind of format, correct?
State uses a very similar format to this, Mr. Joseph, but their model is different. This is a model that was purchased by Baton Rouge Area Chamber for the region through a private contractor, and it's a well-recognized national model that has been customized to the greater Baton Rouge region and the nuances of how Louisiana and the local taxes are collected and the levels and that type of thing.
And we have done this here before, similar.
Yes, you have one of these contracts in place at present with Dynamic Fuels. I don't think they have requested their rebate yet. I could be mistaken, but I don't think they have. And then I believe at the last meeting in December, you approved an offer to another project. This would be the third one.
Okay.
That's it, Mr. Chairman.
Chairman, I make a motion that we accept.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, before entertaining a motion, can I ask a question?
Since I have a motion on the floor, let me go ahead and just state that motion. I have a motion from Councilman, then we'll open it for further discussion. A motion from Councilman Kluwat to move forward and approve the proposed incentive.
Approve the incentives for Project Boxwood.
Okay. And I have a second from Councilman Dempsey Lambert. Discussion, Councilman Satterley.
Thank you, Chris. Mr. Eads, when we talked earlier this morning, I thought you'd indicated that the sales and use taxes on the direct local tax revenues for the first 10 years of operation might be even a little bit less than the half you've indicated in testimony here this afternoon. And that number doesn't really bother me because of the self-leveling, and I understand all the things that we discussed. But I'm more concerned with the bottom line. Would you be willing to put into the record how much that $7.95 number will be changed?
Well, I'm not able to do that, Mr. Satterley, because that is driven in large part by that
just a guesstimation.
129 million. So if you take out half of that, then
how about if we use just not exact number, but an adjective?
If you take out half of it, then it goes to $4.50.
Okay.
So, but you know, I can't tell you that that's a firm number.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Shakespeare? I'm sorry. Councilman Shakespeare.
I can say at the last economic development meeting, it is a substantial, very substantial benefit for the parish, and that system does work out. It not only changes that number, but it changes all the numbers. So I have more of a feeling that it's going to be closer to the percentage is what you had, because it does change all the numbers as you continue on. So it's a very good benefit. It's going to put money that we have not had here into the economy, and that spurs all the local businesses that we have. And so I think I wish we had one every month. I want to congratulate you. I know what is going on in economic development now, and we're very, very fortunate to have this happening in Ascension Parish, especially if you reach out to other parishes in other states and see their conditions. So we appreciate you, Mr. Eads, and very much in favor of this.
Okay, Councilwoman Castro?
Being unfamiliar with the way things go as a newly seated councilwoman, what delay would result if Mike were to get us the accurate figures with the appropriate numbers?
Mr. Eads, I believe you had said something about a deadline, a limit of some kind. Does that?
The question is the timing of the decision.
Correct.
It is my understanding that the company will eliminate one of the two communities within the next couple of weeks, and then concentrate on the finalist candidates. Obviously, a project this magnitude has a tremendous amount of due diligence involved in it to make sure that and they've done some preliminary on both sites, but it's going to take a lot of engineering work and everything to make sure that the site in this area will work. I would not expect this thing to go into production probably until 2014. So.
Okay. Councilman Kluat?
Yeah, I just want to say, Mike, as I said in one of the meetings on this project, this is a very viable project. It's a correct fit for our parish and for our chemical corridor with relationship to other plants and industrial facilities up and down the river next to it. Within the land acquisition that they're going for, that is $400 million, leaves them room, in which they alluded to the possibility of a second phase that'll go far past the $400 million. And this is just a good fix for the parish. And this is, as Mike stated earlier, this is an international company that are leaders in their business. No doubt about that. They're for real.
Okay.
And based on these, with this one, like you said, we had dynamic fuels. We came back. We did one
For
last month.
Project Orange.
And we're looking at this one. The model is based on the same percentages, the same package. You're not giving away any more today than you gave away for the last two times. All right, and this is just a good project. Good sustainable jobs, good sustainable living, and a tax base for the parish.
Okay. Councilman Jessup?
Mike, we had a discussion this morning based on evaluating the two sites. The site in Texas have a property, if you can go into that, and this would, we base it, balance out their property tax compared to our 1 cent sales tax.
Well, just basically the competitive situation with Texas, as y'all know, Texas has no income tax. Louisiana does. And in addition, the local community does not charge sales tax on building materials and equipment, and we do. But there are other mitigating factors. Number one is the state gives away all of your ad valorem tax revenue, not all of it, but a lot of it for 10 years, and it doesn't work that way in Texas. So that's a balancing act there. But it ultimately becomes a numbers game. I can tell you right now that my professional experience has been the numbers are probably very close. Or at this stage of the game, they looked at several other sites in states before they got it down to 2. So they're probably very, very close.
Okay. Councilman Nelson Lambert?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Mike, I want to also thank you, congratulate you. Also on the safety record we were looking at, and look, this is on, like you say, on a national level, really, really good high marks. Right. The parish president, you know, if y'all been in contact, you would have anything you want to add to it, or?
I just wanted to see if any other agencies would possibly participate for one thing. It's a good thing to give incentive, but you certainly need to look at project by project and make a decision based on that. At some point, you're going to have to make sure that you're not giving away the store.
Right.
Still something that will come, we are giving up $4 million in taxes. And I don't know what the return is, Mike, when you say the return in 10 years is going to be how many million?
Well, our estimate that's on this page is $9 and something for every dollar you're giving up, but that, I can tell you that is incorrect. That is correct, sir.
Parish government.
Right. That is correct.
That 1 cent will take you a lot longer to recuperate than the other agencies that are giving you 2 cents. So, again, it does have an effect down the road, a negative effect in some, even though you're not counting on it, think about it a little bit, because down the road, you may be looking back and say, we gave up a lot of taxes. But again, it's 6-1, haven't done it up, because giving up something to get something you don't have. And I understand that. I'm not erring against this. I'm just erring.
Councilman Schexnayder?
And I appreciate President Martinez's comments, because that's exactly why we went back to economic development and asked them to develop a program that basically eliminates the projects that don't fit and become a benefit to the parish. And what they've done, they hired an outside firm to come in and find something that fits within us, and gave them some criteria. And so when they come to us with these things, it's already going to economic development, and they've already been geared out and figured out that it has been mutually beneficial to the parish. And so when we sat here before this was done, about 2 years ago, we had to make a decision based on information we did not have. Now they can go out and make decisions based on a whole lot of information and plug that into their formula and come up with something that either it's beneficial to the parish or it's not. And so that's all being done ahead of time within the economic development situation in that program that they have. And it's been approved by the board members, which looks into it very closely. So I have confidence in the amount of due diligence that was done, and the people that are working with economic development and on the board that has reviewed this, and so it's a very positive thing. It takes away the choice of us having to figure it out on our own with a lot less information, and so I feel very confident moving forward with that.
Okay. Councilman Clouet.
Yeah, I'd just like to comment that the question about the competitiveness between the lower Texas area and the Mississippi Gulf Coast, where we're at right here in the chemical corridor from Baton Rouge on down to New Orleans, that we are constantly competing with the area from Corpus all the way through Baytown, Houston area. Some of the incentives that throw us into the ball game all the time is the Mississippi River. One, the fact that we're off the coast a decent amount to stay out of major hurricane damage versus being closer to the coast. The deep water ports, the sustained amount of fresh water for any industrial complex, which is a very large amount. And that's what brings us in, okay? And that's what sustained our major tax base for a long time. And I do know what Ms. Eve says, that people have a certain amount of time to make a decision, bring it back to their board. We can't compete based on taxes with Texas. I know some people in the audience may know a little bit better before as the permitting. Sometimes you can get permitted in Texas in about 3 months. It'll take a year to get permitted in Louisiana. So we do have some people that's looking over our air and water quality issues a little bit closer here. So when people do land here, we've got a better hold on it. And we turn out a better product. So we're constantly competing. Somebody's moving south and there's a market. We're going to compete with that same area. So this is a good fit for this area.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? I have a motion and a second on the floor for the proposed incentive to move forward, be adopted. Any objection? That motion is passed. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, item 11, the sponsorship agreement with Coca-Cola for Lamar Dixon Expo Center. Ms. Falterman.
This is the first one that comes like this. This is an agreement that is in your packets, and it comes after we had the legislation passed where the governing authority approves any sponsorship agreements that go before Lamar Dixon. So it's for your review.
The chair would entertain a motion to enter into the sponsorship agreement, or is this for, Tony, is this for review only, or do you need a motion to adopt the sponsorship agreement and move forward?
I'm sorry, I need a motion.
Do you need a motion to adopt the sponsorship agreement to move forward? Is this for-
Yes.
Okay.
Please.
I have a motion by Councilman Kluwat and a second by Councilwoman Cazo to adopt the sponsorship agreement. Councilman Joseph, discussion.
Okay, on the sponsorship, do we have a set price, or it's just as we go? I mean, is the council gonna have a set price based on square footage or whatever? I mean,
Ms. Flo and all are here to answer more questions like that for you. I think right now, this is the first one we have, so we're still kind of figuring things out. Maybe in the future, we'll have a set price and y'all will approve some kind of scale or something, but we're not really there yet. We've only had 2 vendors that we've tried to work something with so far.
and the only reason why, I just want to be fair to every vendor,
Definitely.
or every sponsor come in, if they want to sign 20 by 20, that is across the board, or something like that.
And that's why we had the legislation passed, so we could vary a little bit, because so many different companies have different things to offer, where we can work with them, and we don't have to worry about other things that would have stopped us in the past.
That's the only question. I'm done,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Todd
Yeah,
Lambert.
Mr. Chairman, I guess, what is the 4 years, 5-month term? Where did that come from? It just
Because
seems,
we've been negotiating with them,
Okay.
and we're trying to make all of our contracts end at certain dates. And that's what we're going for, the goal with our sponsorship agreements also.
Okay.
Is to have everything end at the same time. And I don't know why this particular vendor needed it to end at that time, but we're gonna try to have everything stay on the same
Okay.
time period like we do with our contracts and legal right now.
thank you.
The reason we did that was because Coke wanted to go ahead and do the last quarter of this year or the last 5 months, so they could go ahead and pay us for the remainder of 2011.
Okay.
That's why it's 4 years' time.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilman Kluwat.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody for working hard to get that legislation passed, okay? Thank whoever was involved in that total group. That this is an outlet for us to have the positive net flow cash moving forward for the Lamar Dixon facility. And we're gonna see more sponsorships coming around in different terms, different items. Some of them will be main event sponsorships, some of them will be long-term sponsorships, some of them will be a sponsorship in a certain area of the premises. Some of them will have to do with sponsorship on certain items, food and beverage versus something else, you know. And so this is definitely a step forward to getting this thing rolling.
Okay. Any further discussion? I have a motion on the floor to enter into the sponsorship agreement, and I have a second. Any objection? Motion passes. Item number 13, the fiscal year 2011-2012 Community Water Enrichment Funds Grant. Ms. Martha Collins, our grants officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the council. In your packets, we're here tonight to ask for a resolution, but I want to tell you a little bit about the program. This is a state grant out of the Office of Community Development. On the funding source, it's from the state. It was estimated to be $142,000 state for the parish totally. There were some funds that were not used in the past, so for this one will actually be about $250,000. The project will be an effort between the parish and ACUD. It is to service the water with St. Jude subdivision and the ABN community. It's an excellent program that we're very fortunate we'll be able to partner with them. So I'd ask that you would entertain approval to submit this application and to authorize President
So
Tommy
moved,
Martinez.
Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion by Councilman Joseph and a second by Councilman Todd Lambert to approve the funds grant that's before us.
First to get application.
To get application, okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Any objection, or just, I'm sorry, any discussion? Councilman Joseph?
Yes, I'd like to just thank the grant department for looking out for this funds for ACU D1. It is a public utility service, and from myself and the West ACU D1, we thank you.
You're welcome. Actually, Parish President works real close with us, and through his
I'm sorry, Parish President,
is
I
how
know you
I
approved
work through
that.
mine. So it's a good match, and I think it's going to increase the opportunities for the water.
And
we'll
just let
work
the
real
record
hard
show that I
to get some
appreciate
more.
the Parish President for signing that off. Now.
Thank you. That's how, Councilman Joseph, that's how we get to do these things. Thank you.
All right, any further discussion? Any objection to this motion? Motion passes. Item number 13.1 is a resolution in opposition of the Baton Rouge Loop. Vice Chairman Randy Cluett. But before we get to you, sir, we do have a speaker, Mr. Harold McGee. If you'd like to come address, you'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't know what documents you might have in front of you in regards to the proposed Baton Rouge Loop, but you're probably very familiar with the final proposed loop, and I'm here to alert you that, in my opinion, the final proposed route that may be before you will not be the actual route through Ascension Parish. In my opinion, they will flip this route on us, and the final route, if it's ever materialized, will be in the north end of the parish on the 4273 corridor. How do I suspect this? Because they have told us so. Back in '08, they indicated that in the Advocate, a 12% return to the investors would be necessary to attract the private investors. March 11, 2008, the committee, meaning the Transportation Authority, removed the southern route from consideration, moving the Sorrento area, citing a lack of economic feasibility. On July 3, 2009, in the Advocate, it suggested private investors would be less interested in a loop that swung further south, diverting fewer motorists from Interstate 10 onto the toll road. It seems that if the numbers don't fit, we should eliminate it. Why spend a lot of time on it? And then July 12, 2009, in the Advocate, no decision has been made on where to build a bridge for the southern leg of the loop, but some have said that routing the loop south of Plaquemine won't generate enough vehicular tow traffic to make it economically feasible. So what's happening here? They build the proposed southern leg of the loop in Ascension, south of Sorrento. Commuters in Prairieville, Geismar, Duplessis, Gonzales, etc., will not go south to go north on the loop. So just keep that in mind. And also, the loop is not actually the best solution for traffic congestion in the Metro Baton Rouge. We should continue to widen I-10 and I-12 and other feeder roads, and we need probably the ultimate solution is a west bypass down Highway 1 to existing bridges at Gramercy and Lutcher, hooking up on I-10 with I-55, so traffic going to Florida can go past the Slidell to the Tri-Split. Traffic going north can go up further north to Jackson, Memphis, St. Louis, Chicago. Another unfortunate part of these private partnerships with public road financing is the non-compete clause, and if it became reality, for sure, state and federal roads like I-10 and Airline Highway would not be able to be widened in the future. And it's a little murky as to whether feeder roads, parish roads to those arteries could be widened as well. So I would encourage you not to kick the can 10 down the road, and let's present a united front in the parish.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Cluett.
Yes. I wanted to bring this to the agenda, basically let the public know this is the second, third time, as you said, that this has came around. And, you know, based on the different strategies they've had, we've had good opposition against it. I'm sure there's some people out there in favor of it. And I'm gonna tell you tonight, I'm not necessarily gonna ask for a resolution by the total council based on the fact that we have 4 new council members here, and you may be a little bit, need to study up on it or whatever you want. But I wanted it to come forward because there's a deadline of, I think January 9th to get all comments in. And I'll enter my own comments based on representative of District 6, which as proposed represents about 1/3 of that loop. And I've had a strong contingency from my district that actually thought that it was basically a dying thing the last time, and then it came back, okay? So as a governing body, we need to talk about it, we need to look at it and make a decision. We did find out that, pretty sure, maybe legal or parish president can clear me on this, is that they cannot just put the loop in without the authority of the governing bodies. There's been some talk in the past on whether a municipality is a governing body and a rural area is not really a governing body, but I think we'll stand strong all together. The fact that we are the governing body elected by the people of Ascension Parish to represent those folks. And I'm just opening it up for discussion right now. I can tell you that within the present route of the southern loop, that the majority of the people that I've talked to in District 6 are against it. I think the parish president had a couple words.
Well, does anybody? Councilman Todd Lambert?
I agree with Randy. I went to a lot of the public hearings, and I hadn't seen many people in Ascension Parish for this loop, so it was heavily opposed. So I agree with Randy on this, and I think parish president might have had a little opposition on it also.
Councilman Shakespeare?
I agree with both you guys and the speaker also. And I was very, very disappointed with the amount of true engineering that was presented at these public meetings. The routes were purely hypothetical. There was no numbers put to them. There was no consideration to feasibility of building roads in those areas. And the amount of cost that would take, for example, they kind of settled in on a Highway 30 corridor, which would be ridiculously expensive to build, and then build probably a $1 billion bridge across the Mississippi River. It's just not something that's feasible that would ever happen. And by the time it did happen, I think no one in this room would be here. The very simple solution to the problem, and we'll never get complete solution to our traffic problems around here, is to extend 3127 and connect it to 3 existing bridges. And as the gentleman said, and have people an option to go to Lafayette, Lake Charles, and Houston, south of Baton Rouge, and go to New Orleans, south of Gonzales, and tie in with 55 and 310 bridge. It goes through sugarcane fields. I hadn't had one person that I talked to that had an objection to doing that. I hadn't seen any landowners that had objections to doing that. The relative costs and the time involved would be a tremendous benefit, and the inconvenience to current people and where they settled would be very minimal. And then we could continue to work on widening I-10 and making Highway 30 a 4-lane highway and improve some of these connectors that we need to do. But for the tremendous future is allow an opportunity for the West Bank areas to grow as I-10 did on the East Bank, and then a lot of the future growth would be there, and that would reduce the amount of future traffic. So I think until someone shows me the numbers, and I've been diligently trying to get some true numbers on these proposed routes and what their effect are, I would never be in favor of that. And I think, we need to move forward with something that already exists and complete the existing proposals that's been on the table for years. It just hadn't been completed. So I'd like to see us move forward in that area.
Mr. President, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
First of all, I want to thank Mr. DeGree. I think that I totally agree with everything that he said tonight. I've attended several meetings at the Capital Area Expressway Authority, and basically I've never met any of those private investors. I've never seen a financial plan. Basically, we'd go to meetings and kind of see the same thing you hear at the public meetings. So I don't put a lot of credence, especially in the southern part of the route, the route for the loop. I agree with Mr. Schexnayder that a West Bank Expressway should be the way to go. We have 3 existing bridges. It would be a lot less expensive than the $4 billion proposed entire loop. It would be about $653 million. You wouldn't have to build any bridges. If you would charge $1 toll on each of the 3 existing bridges, it wouldn't cost the taxpayers any money. You could utilize the receipts from that and actually do the repairs to the bridges, which will be, if you ever ride underneath the Sunshine Bridge in the near future, you're going to certainly need some major repairs. But if you would take that money and put it all on the infrastructure there, you wouldn't have to raise any taxes. You wouldn't have to do anything. The people that actually utilize the bridge would certainly, the bridges would pay for it. And, you know, $1 toll, it's not even a quarter of a gallon of gas at this point. So, you know, I think that makes a lot more sense. We will continue working on I-10 coming south to New Orleans, I-12 going east. We need to add another lane from Baton Rouge all the way through Ascension Parish to south of Sorrento. I think that would help our problems. A lot of the problems, the traffic problems and the solutions that we do have on a local basis is due to a lack of turn lanes, left turn lanes. So that's something that we need to work as over the next 4 years. But again, I applaud you for that. There's been about $7 million, I think, spent on engineering so far on the loop. Same company that keeps saying in the paper that, you know, that this could become a reality, the southern loop is not dead and all this stuff. Well, you know, as long as they keep saying that and keep getting money to keep engineering, well, they're going to continually have a project. A lot of the best projects engineers do are the ones that don't get done. So, you know, that's kind of the way I feel in some regard. But anyway, that's just my thoughts on it, and that's basically why I withdrew from the loop. That you know, I could see that the southern loop was something that wasn't going to happen, and especially in the near future, and we didn't have 40 years to wait. And there definitely is a need for some sort of traffic enhancement in the northern part of that loop. Would be something that would certainly help the traffic situation in Baton Rouge. I'm not against any of those type things, but let's get something that's realistic and that we can work with.
Councilwoman Cazio.
A third of this body is recently inaugurated and lacks the knowledge, I think, to cast a vote on this particular resolution. I would love to be better informed, briefed about the loop, past and future plans. So I would like to make a motion that we pass indefinitely on this until we can be briefed and bring this back for further discussion.
Okay, I have a motion to postpone indefinitely and a second from Councilman Travis Turner. Any further discussion? Councilman Kluwat?
Yeah, just a quick note. Basically on this, and please, when I agree with getting set up to get you guys briefed up on this and everything, and some of us that are not totally in the loop. But the fact is that the devil's in the details as far as infrastructure growth and prohibitive agreements within some of these toll roads that stymies or stifles the local authorities to make greater improvements within their own infrastructure, in competitive highways or competitive improvements, and in some agreements to talk of a whole new road that we may propose down the line would be totally out unless we paid for it ourselves. And most of our projects that we work through statewide here under DOTD. Basically run on about 70 to 80% federal highway money and about 20 to 25% DOTD money. So any agreement that has federal highway attached to it on that will probably have something non-competitive that the private side will want to put in there. That's happened in other states and in other areas. So I just want to bring that up, something to clear up whenever we're talking to them.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Councilman Satterley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to go on the record to also say, like Ms. Casso just said, more or less thank Councilman Kluot that I too prefer to go slow in this issue, being one of the new kids on the block, giving me more time to study it. And also to put into the record tonight, I've already received a rather healthy response on the issue, and as you might imagine on both sides, but I'm hearing things like the loop within our resources. There's no real convincing loop evidence in terms of the plans as to will it really reduce traffic congestions or not in our parish. Well, it might help Baton Rouge greatly. Maybe some air quality issues and others. And of course, I could flip the coin over and tell you about the emails that support it for folks who truly believe it will help move our cars and stuff about. But Mr. Kluot, I thank you for saying it and for the motion so far, and I guess I'm telegraphing where I might be headed. But thank you.
Okay. Okay, I have a motion to postpone indefinitely and a second. Any further discussion on this? Any objection? That motion passes. We'll move into the introduction of ordinance section.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Dempsey Lambert?
Yes, I would like not to introduce the reducing of the existing 15-foot drainage servitude. This is at lot 162 in Perkins Oak subdivision.
I'll second that for agenda item number 14.
Okay. So I have a motion to clarify for the new members. But first, I have a motion not to introduce this ordinance and a second on that. This is one of those things that's kind of tripped us up in the past. It's a little bit confusing because the way it's worded, we're actually, in this case, by doing that, you'd be accepting a denial of the Planning and Zoning Commission. So just to be clear, if you wanted to agree with that decision, the motion would be, as Councilman Dempsey Lambert has stated in the motion that's on the floor currently, is to not move forward with that. So if there are any other discussion on that? Okay, any objection? Motion to move forward. It actually requires a 2/3 vote, so we will actually need a roll call on this. I'll ask Ms. Galshay if she would please do that for us.
Councilman Kluot.
Yes.
Councilman Joseph.
Yes.
Councilman Shake Snyder.
Yes.
Councilman Turner.
Yes.
Councilman Dempsey Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Satterley.
Yes.
Councilman Cazo.
Yes.
I'm sorry. Councilman Todd Lambert.
Yes.
Councilman Brian Melanson.
Yes.
Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
All right, that motion passes. The motion to not move forward. And that item will not be introduced. Okay, item number 15 is a planned unit development, phases 1, 2, and 3, the development agreement, Quality Engineering and Surveying LLC. The Joint Planning and Zoning Commission recommended approval of this development agreement.
Motion to introduce, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion to introduce by Councilman Todd Lambert and a second by Councilman Lawson. Councilman Shake Snyder wants to recuse himself. Is there any discussion on this?
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Satterley.
As a former member of the Joint Planning and Zoning Commission, obviously I've already recommended something to this body. Is it necessary that I recuse myself tonight from the vote, or can I go ahead and...
I don't believe so, sir. I think
Thank
you'll be
you.
fine. Okay. Any further discussion? Any objection? Motion to introduce is adopted. Item number 16, introduction of an ordinance to declare a 1997 Freightliner/Ferrera pumper as surplus and transfer title pursuant to a cooperative endeavor agreement made a part hereof.
Motion, Mr. Chairman.
Motion by Councilman Johnson and a second by Councilman Kluot. Any discussion? Any objection? Motion to introduce is adopted. Item number 17, to amend the public hearing. This is the public hearings ordinances section. The reading of an ordinance to amend the Ascension Parish subdivision regulations, section 17-405.d.2, to define certain sign requirements for developments. Legal counsel Tony Felcherman.
Whereas the Parish of Ascension has in effect a comprehensive plan of zoning, and pursuant to that plan, a parish-wide development code was adopted by the Ascension Parish Governing Authority, which became effective on June 1st, 1999. Whereas the Ascension Parish Development Code provides for a procedure for its amendment of the Development Code and related regulations and restrictions by initiation of the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission. Whereas the Parish Planning and Zoning Commission has initiated an amendment to Section 17405D2 of the Ascension Parish Subdivision Regulations to define certain sign requirements for developments. Now therefore be it ordained that Section 17405D2 of the Ascension Parish Subdivision Regulations is amended as follows. Public notice requirements. A, notice of the time and place of the public hearing shall be mailed by certified mail to the owner, subdivider, and all adjacent property owners as identified by the Ascension Parish Tax Assessor's Office at the time of the submittal and at the applicant's sole cost by the Planning Commission staff. B, the public hearing shall be advertised in the Ascension Parish Official Journal. C, prior to any hearing before the Planning Commission, the site must be posted by the applicant with signs that meet the following requirements for public notice. Parcels of land 20 acres or greater in size shall place a sign facing each public right-of-way it has frontage on as follows. Signs must be no more than 10 feet from the access way and free of any physical obstruction that could obscure visibility of the sign. Signs must be no more than 1,200 feet apart per frontage. Signs must be placed on the subject property a minimum of 10 calendar days prior to the scheduled hearing date. Developer must deliver to the planning and development staff photos of installed signs a minimum of 10 days prior to the scheduled hearing date. Photos of the installed signs must include the date and time digitally identified on the photo. Developer must include a graphic depiction of the sign locations. Developer shall install a sign that meets the following standard. Signs must be a minimum of 24 by 30 in size and must be a minimum height of 5 feet to the center line of the sign. Signs must have a yellow background with black letters. Signs must be double-faced and oriented perpendicular to the travel lane. Signs must state the following information: type of the proposed development or subdivision, public hearing date and time, public hearing location, parish contact information. Parcels of land smaller than 20 acres shall place one sign that meets the requirements of Section 17405D2. The sign must be posted at the midpoint along the thoroughfare fronts, provided the location must not impede any existing ingress or egress or other physical attribute of the parcel of land. In such cases, it should be placed as close as possible to the midpoint of the frontage. Final plat shall be excluded from these requirements. The subdivider and/or his representative shall be present at the public hearing to explain the proposal and answer questions.
Motion to open the public hearing.
I have a motion to open the public hearing by Councilman Benny Johnson, a second by Councilman Todd Lambert. We do have a speaker on this item, Ms. Catherine Gupple.
Good evening and congratulations. Chairman Laura, let the record show that I did sign up for an item on the agenda that was posted prior to the meeting, and you did not allow me to speak. Okay? I'd like to speak on that item.
I'm sorry, ma'am. Actually, state law says that the public is not allowed to comment on items that aren't being voted for. So that is why, because that is no longer on the agenda. So if you want to move forward with speaking on this item.
Could you please produce that law?
You can do that. You can look it up for yourself, ma'am. If you'd like to go, your time's running.
That's the first time I've ever heard it.
It's out there.
Currently, there are no sign requirements for developers in our code. This ordinance to add sign requirements was done to better notify the public of large subdivision development in our parish. The recommendation to add sign requirements originated with the subdivision subcommittee of the Planning and Zoning Commission. The process took several months. A unanimous recommendation for these changes came from the subcommittee to the commission and from the commission to the council. The previous council rejected the ordinance and sent it to strategic planning. The ordinance was introduced on the council agenda before strategic planning had met. Strategic planning met and changes were made. The ordinance was reintroduced and is now out for a public hearing. The commission recommended sign dimensions a minimum of 4 feet to 6 feet. Strategic planning recommends dimensions a minimum of 24 inches by 30 inches, much smaller than before. The commission recommended the name of the developer be placed on the sign. Strategic planning removed the developer's name. Why? Commission recommended excluding family partitions and simple divisions of property up to 9 lots. Strategic planning recommended all subdivisions of property to post signage. Anyone dividing their property, even when giving land to family members, will be required to place signage. The commission recommended a warning that stated, quote, "Failure to meet all the above sign requirements may result in the removal of the application from the agenda," end quote. Strategic planning removed the warning. What will motivate the developer to follow these rules if he gets his item on the agenda regardless of his compliance with these requirements? The driving force behind the ordinance was to inform the public when large developments are being considered. I believe this final version is overreaching. Thank you.
Chair will entertain a motion to close the public
Motion
hearing.
to close.
Motion to close by Councilman Benny Johnson, second by Councilman Kluwat.
Move the ordinance.
Any discussion?
Motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Item 19, we have a motion to move the ordinance by Councilman Schexnayder.
Second.
And a second by Councilman Johnson. Any discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Councilman Satterley.
again, I assume it's okay to talk on this since I was involved in this as a planning and zoning commissioner, but I really just have questions at this stage. There has been, as the public speaker indicated, some changes. Most noteworthy to me is the reduction in the size of the sign. I believe that out of our commission, we recommended 4 foot by 6 foot, and it's now 2 foot by 2.5 foot. If anyone here maybe could speak, I guess that'd be from strategic planning or wherever, as to why the sign reduction, why the reduction in the sign size was made.
The chair would refer that to Councilman Schexnayder.
Yes, and Ricky, you didn't bring a sample with you. You can get it if you like. We went in committee and we took a look at the different signs that they had, different sizes, and tried to make something uniform. The problem they had before was recognition of signs. They came up with a sign, and I think he's going to try to get a sample of it now, that our goal was to make it recognizable by people and something that they can see and something that was practical, and some compromises were made to get that, and also make it inexpensive, something that the parish can keep up and that would look good. So we looked at a number of different sign sizes and configurations, and we had different lettering, and after the meetings, the different samples were shown and at the meeting, and that was the size that we came up with is very adequate. We also had them, instead of the sign facing flat towards the road, we had it perpendicular and on both sides so that people can see it coming from both directions, and it's a lot more noticeable. So the effect that was intended would be received by this, and we determined, talking with administration, it was a more practical deal. You can, Ricky, would you put it up right where you are? This is the size and what is going to be needed on the sign. Any particular message, I think some wording is put that can be changed quite easily, and the parish has these, and they pay a certain fee for them. Ricky, can you address us and let us know what the fee is? And it didn't come to me now.
Going to be out of breath?
Yeah.
They're about $15 a sign, and we have a sticker that we put on it for the date.
All right.
And the wording is going to be a little different based on the ordinance, but we will produce these and sell them to the applicants.
Okay. That way, it's a lot simpler than each individual. We appreciate your efforts, but it's a lot simpler than having each individual going and purchasing their own signs. We realized right away the practicality would get a little substantial, and then you could prevent someone from making their own signs, and then you would start having some problems. So something that's very distinct, we found out it's very contrasting colors. When you put it up on both sides, it was very noticeable, so the intent that was given, taken into effect, this is how we agreed to move forward.
Councilman Satterley?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. And as a follow-up question, if I may address directly to Councilman Scheck-Snyder.
Sure.
To the chair, to Mr. Scheck-Snyder. The language of failure to meet all the above signed requirements may result in removal of the application from the agenda. Wasn't on the sign, but as I understand, as I remember it, when it came through us, it was in the ordinance per se, or the suggested, the recommended ordinance, and that I've just learned was deleted. And again, I apologize, I didn't see the strategic planning meeting or the yellow sign, and Ricky, thank you. First time I've ever seen you out of breath, but thank you for running out and getting that. What would be the reason for the deletion of the language?
Dr. Scheck-Snyder, do you wish to answer that, or?
I'm sorry, what language?
The failure to meet all of the above signed requirements, which we just saw, may result in removal of the application from the agenda.
Since we're in control of the sign, it's not necessary for that, because we have the same signs for everyone. So, I mean, they have to meet the sign language and stipulations because we give them the sign. So it's just not necessary.
So in other words, if it's the correct size, if it's sitting 5 feet above about the center and et cetera and all that, the logic was, we don't need even that in the ordinance. It's just enforceable that we can fix it.
It's very definitive in the ordinance, we thought, that about where it should be placed and how it should be placed.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay. Any objection? Then the ordinance is adopted. Before we get to item 20, a couple things. People should know, first of all, item 20 is always handled, it's a custom tradition, if you call it. The new folks need to know that I don't want to jinx anything. Todd Lambert has always been the one to adjourn, so I think we should keep that going. It's worked well over the years. Also, most importantly, there's a little something coming up Monday. As a former alumni, go Tigers. And I want to say special thanks to Officer Denby in the back for being here tonight. Councilman Todd Lambert.
Motion to adjourn, Mr.
Motion to adjourn. Second by Councilman Brian Melanson. So adjourned.